Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hi friends, we are back today with our book Living Spring, and today we are going to read chapter 15, Fraternity. By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. And it's Jesus in John 13 verses 35. Before I'm going to begin, I first want to read the same in The Way, the Truth and the Life, the Golden Rule, which Emmanuel, it is chapter 41. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And it's also Jesus and Matthew. Of course, Jesus Christ, ambassadors of his wisdom and mercy, had already taught the Golden Rule many centuries before his coming. However, it is important to note that this principle was transmitted with a greater or lesser exemplification by its expositors. The Greek used to say, "Do not do to your neighbor what you do not wish to receive from him." The Persians stated, "Do as you would like to have done to you." The Chinese declared, "Whatever you would not want for yourself, do not do to others." The Egyptians recommended, "Allow to pass the one who does to others what he would want for himself." The Hebrews taught, "Whatever you would not wish for yourself, do not do to your neighbor." The Romans insisted, "The law engraved on the human heart is to love members of society as you love yourself." In ancient times, every culture received the golden law of Christ's magnanimity. Prophets, legislators, judges, and philosophers acted as instruments that were in tune to a lesser or greater degree with inspiration from a higher sphere of life. However, because what they come to reveal to people was only fragmentary, their names were stricken from the temples of intuition or were forgotten with time. With the Master, however, the Golden Rule is divine news because Jesus taught and exemplified, not with partial virtues, but in the fullness of his work, his self-denial and his love before all humankind. And now to continue with Living Spring, let's read what Emmanuel is saying in Living Spring about. Ever since Constantine's victory, which opens the door of political hegemony to the Christian world, we have been taught many experiences to show that we are disciples of Jesus. We have held renowned councils, formulating daring conclusions regarding the nature of God, the soul, the universe, and life. We have encouraged dreadful wars that imposed misery and terrors on those who could not believe in the tenet of our faith. We have fought over the tomb of the Divine Master by spreading renovous fires and brandishing the murderous sword. We have created commandments and religious posts by distributing poison and wielding the dagger. We have lit fires for burning at the stake, constructed gallows, invented tortures, and built prisons for those who disagree with our point of view. We have encouraged insurrections that cause animosity between the brothers and sisters in the name of the Lord, who on the cross bore witness of his devotion to all humankind. We have built beautiful and sumptuous places, palaces, and basilicas in the memory, forgotten that he did not have a stone on which to rest his head. And today we still nourish schism and discord, digging trenches of incomprehension and animosity against one another because we interpret the faith differently. Nevertheless, the word of Christ is irrefutable. We cannot claim to be wards of the good news simply by our outward attitudes. Yes, we do need education, which improves the mind, justice, which preserves order, material progress, which enriches work, and counsels which support the study of the faith. However, without the light of love, all human activity may be lost in darkness. We will be accepted as learners of the gospel while cultivating the kingdom of God, which begins in our inner life. Therefore, let us extend pure and simple fraternity all around us by mutually helping one another. The fraternity that labors and assists, understands and forgives, amid the humility and service that ensure the victory of the good. Wherever we are, let us practice fraternity, recalling the word of the Lord, who clearly and surely asserted, "By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Love your neighbor as yourself, and all beings. Emmanuel says, all before all humankind. In The Way, the Truth, and the Life, in chapter, let me just repeat this, 41. So if we look at what Emmanuel is telling us in the Living Spring and The Way, the Truth, and the Life, is that this, when Jesus said this, was prophesied by a lot of prophets before Jesus that was open to tell this. But Jesus was the one that showed us how to do this, how to be humble. And Emmanuel is stating it in this beautiful way. He says, with the master however, the golden rule is a divine news because Jesus taught and exemplified. It was the example. Not with partial virtues, but in the fullness of his work. His self-denial, and his love before all humankind. And then, in this chapter, he is stating, we will be accepted as learners of the gospel by cultivating the kingdom of God, which begins in our inner life, our thoughts. And again, through Emmanuel, the book Thought and Life explains beautifully where our thought process are, how it works, what is the consequences. Because thought is our life. And it is to respect, this is what the message is telling us today, it is to respect all human beings, regardless where they are in their evolutionary path. And we should remember that when a seed is planted, some grow quickly, some grow slowly. But it takes time to become a tree and to have fruit. And we should respect each other, or all beings, everybody that comes into our experience, in such a way, not to judge, but to know that we should love everyone and respect where they are in their evolutionary road. Because that is where they are. And that is where God has put them. And if it's okay with God to have their free will and to respect where they are, so should we. And the only thing that we should do is to do the example, be the example of Jesus. Be the disciple of example that Jesus taught us so beautifully in Spiritism, in these books, Good News and Jesus in the Home, where we can see how Jesus was this beautiful example for, and let us try to practice it in that way, the respectful way, not intruding on other people's beliefs, but to just love and be kind and to give regardless. Do not go from the way, but to be on the way and still be respectful. So today is a beautiful example and a beautiful lesson for us to remind us that this passage that Jesus said was given to us from the beginning of time. And there is a beautiful lesson that was done by the Spirit Society of Ireland, I think, that you could please go and see, where I don't know who did the lesson, but it was beautifully based on chapter 41 on the way, the truth, and the life. And it is good for us to know that this is the core of all beings, regardless of faith, is what is expected from us, is to love and respect our neighbor. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's meditate on this in a way that when we see someone, when we interact with someone, that we will respect, that we can practice listening, like Jesus said, not to interrupt or to tell them your thoughts or your beliefs, but to respect. And it's a practice for us humans, so it's a practice. But through the example of Jesus, we can practice. We can be mindful enough so that we can listen and give love, even through our thoughts, and be prayerful for everyone that crosses our path in this day. May you have a wonderful day, and God bless.